Mexico, the second most sought-after travel destination in the Americas, constantly boasts tourism as a generator of jobs and welfare for Mexico. And year after year, the federal and local governments show off impressive employment rates based on tourism. But what is in fact the nature of these jobs? Do they benefit the employees proportionately to the large sums of money they generate? Is tourism really the cure-all for a population stricken by unemployment? Or is it all actually too good to be true? Today on The Travel Insider, we'll analyze the pros and cons of jobs in Mexico's tourism. Recently, Enrique de la Madrid Cordero, Federal Secretary of Tourism, named tourism as one of the main economic drivers of the country, representing 8.7% of the GDP.
Pero no solo el turismo internacional avanza con paso firme. Los viajes que realizamos los mexicanos por nuestro país presentan también cifras históricas. Durante el año 2016, más de 226 millones de viajes de mexicanos tuvieron lugar en nuestro país. Y de cada peso que se gasta en México, 85, 88 centavos los gastamos los mexicanos. Turismo significa empleo, oportunidades de negocio, para empresas grandes, pequeñas y medianas. También la transformación y la renovación de áreas urbanas, la conservación y la promoción del patrimonio natural y cultural de nuestro país. Mire, señor presidente, avanza tanto el turismo y tan rápido que apenas entre la cifra que manejó el secretario general de la OCDE de 8.5 del PIB, yo lo actualizo que ya creció a 8.7 ahora que se lo informo. Es ahora el 8.7 del PIB, lo que representa el turismo para nuestro país, genera 9 millones de empleos y es la tercera fuente generadora de divisas.
This is all great. Nevertheless, the president of the Confederation of Latin American Tourism Organizations, Armando Bojorquez, said that the tourism boom in Mexico should reflect better wages for its employees. The Mexican labor force is very cheap compared to other countries with a tourist vocation, he said. According to the World Tourism Organization's tourism satellite account, wages in the Mexican tourism industry have been lower than the rest of the economy since there are comparable figures starting in 2003, and that disparity has only gotten worse. Mexicans working in tourism earned 9,270 pesos per month on average in 2015, while the national average was 10,331 pesos. This is a difference of 1,161 pesos in favor of the other sectors of the economy, the highest since there are comparable figures. So, does $450 a month seem commensurate for someone that works over 40 hours a week, speaks a second language, and in many cases has trained to be a chef or a travel guide? Consistent with data from job hunting sites, recent graduates of careers related to tourism have salaries under 5,000 pesos a month. Sometimes their employers pay them for lodging and food, and on that pretext offer lower salaries. However, even though it probably won't be as well paid, they're more likely to find a job than graduates from other fields. According to statistics from the International Labour Organization, Quintana Roo creates more jobs for people over 15 than countries like Italy, France, Argentina, Colombia, or the Dominican Republic. 60% of which is produced in Cancun, Riviera Maya, Isla Mujeres, and Cozumel in the hotel sector and tourism-related suppliers. Enrique González Contreras, coordinator of the State Employment Service, stressed that the construction of new hotels and resorts has been crucial for the consolidation of Quintana Roo as the best employment site in the country. González Contreras also said that the perception of a poorly paid job in Quintana Roo may be different from the rest of Mexico because in the tourism sector, people not only earn a salary, but also tips, and that increases the income even more, since in many cases, these are higher than the salary itself. But opinion is divided about whether tips make enough of a difference. Hard currency like the dollar and euro have made a difference in the past, but now the all-inclusive concept means that service staff are receiving far less gratuities because tourists believe that tips are factored into the package price. But does tipping actually make up for a low wage and little to no benefits? The travel industry has none of the safeguards that exist in other OECD countries, such as employment insurance. In times of crisis, the fact that people have insurance against unemployment allows them to remain solvent and provides a financial lifeline. However, in Mexico's tourism sector, there's no social protection against unemployment, so in times of crisis, like the climactic events of Hurricane Wilma, or health scares like Zika or H1N1, workers who suddenly find themselves unemployed with no insurance are faced with an enormous financial burden. According to a study of the 34 member countries of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the gap between wages and hours worked is larger in Mexico than in any other member country. The country's richest 10% earn more than 30 times what the poorest 10% make. And compared with other OECD countries, a Mexican worker makes 53.36 pesos an hour, working 46 hours a week, while for the same job in Ireland, a worker makes 149 pesos, nearly 3 times more an hour, and works only 39 hours a week. With the prospect of higher economic inflation this year, how can these millions of Mexicans working for low income in the travel sector survive a higher cost of living? And in the future, will there be a skill shortage in the tourism sector as graduates look overseas for better paid work? Record revenues are forecasted for this year as more international visitors than ever travel to Mexico. So who stands to gain from this multi-billion-dollar industry? You decide. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media and leave a comment to let us know what you think.